There's so much to talk about when it comes to the banking sector. We have a bad bank. There are resolutions that are underway. And who better than State Bank of India to make sense of all of it for us? Latha, great to have you in the studio.
Thank you, Surabhi, for that. And Mr. Khara, thank you very much indeed for joining us. As Surabhi said, there is a great deal of things to talk about, not just the ARC, there are account aggregators, there are fintech challenges, and there are a whole lot of old legacy assets probably getting resolved. So actually, before the NARCL, let me start with that. You know, the Shapurji Palonji asset seems to be turning around. Vodafone seems to be turning around. Would you want to start this interview with a bang and give us a new credit cost guidance? Is it likely to be lower than the one you last gave us?
No, of course, our effort and endeavor is to keep the credit cost minimum possible, and hopefully we have generally beaten the street's estimate on the credit cost. So our effort would be that we should maintain the trend.
Oh, okay, but you don't want to give us a number.
No, obviously, these numbers are always the moving parts. So we'll have to wait and watch till we have the final visibility. Okay. So I'll not be in a position to share any number as of now.
What exactly is your exposure to Vodafone, and are your lenders meeting and taking a call on, how to tackle this? Since the moratorium is allowed only for the government, for you all, I guess it is regular payments. Anything underway?
No, in fact, I would give some broad numbers. The overall about 2 lakh crore was the overall dues to the company. 1,50,000 crore was on account of the spectrum. Actually, that was the telecom dues, which I'm talking of. 50,000 crore was the telecom dues. 1,50,000 crore was the dues towards Asia, spectrum, etc. 50,000 was from the banking system. And now, as far as Vodafone is concerned, I think we'll have to rework the situation, because the new scheme which has been announced by the government, it will certainly give relief to entities like Vodafone, and their requirement for bank guarantees and non-fund based facility will come down significantly. So that is something which will be the situation. So I think we are all meeting at all the bank level, and are trying to ascertain that's likely impact. But overall, I would say that it is quite a positive impact, and for entities like Vodafone, hopefully they should be in a position to invest into technology, and which will eventually upgrade their 2G customers. They have got a huge base of 2G customers, and once they invest into technology, their ARPU in general will also look up. So that way, I think...
So are you privy to that? Are you privy to them putting in fresh money? And if they bring in equity, will you give more debt?
Yeah, obviously, because if they bring in more equity, if at all there is sense in terms of they're looking up, and if at all they have got long-term plans where the ARPU will improve. So we'll have to evaluate afresh, and we will see that how best we can really see that this telecom sector can be helped.
Okay, Mr. Khara, I had a couple of questions. Now that the operationalization of the bad bank has been approved, what does this really mean in terms of, the NPAs of the entire PSU banking system? And what is your own expectation of the stressed assets that you will be putting into the ARC?
Overall, about 2 lakh crore worth of stress assets are likely to move to NARCL, and which will be up for resolution. So as far as we in State Bank of India are concerned, we have got about 22,000 odd crore worth of assets which we have identified, and we will be doing it in 2 tranches. And the first tranche would be around 16,000 crore, and the second tranche would be about 6,000 crore. This is, I would say that this is a very positive move, because it ensures that it avoids any kind of of course it's aggregation, the first part of it. And after the aggregation, the ability of the asset to fetch better value improves significantly. More important is that, in case of NCLT, it was not, NCLT did not allow the sale of assets to the investor, whereas in case of bad bank, that is possible. And also it will avoid interlender litigations also.
Yeah, that point is taken.
Pace at which the resolution can happen will significantly go up.
No, those points, of course, Mr. Sunil Mehta made on the day the bad bank was announced, But I mean, I'm surprised yours is only 20,000 crore, just 10% of the total amount. I thought since you are 1/3 of the banking sector, you will have about 30%. But
Not necessarily, we should have the bad loans also 1/3.
no, that'll be a positive. The statement you're making is actually your share positive. But immediately, is there any, I mean, if they're entirely provided for, then nothing happens to the balance sheet, just your GNPAs go down by 16,000 crore. Is there any write-off or write-in of provisions?
Normally, we have already provided for all these assets.
All of them, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, but you know, the expectations on recovery and some of the calculations that have been doing the rounds, Mr. Khara, do they seem feasible? I mean, one foreign brokerage said that the recovery will be more or less, give or take, you know, a few percentage points here and there, similar to what we've seen in the current resolution framework. Should we have reason to believe that banks will see a better write back and a better recovery because of the bad bank?
No, you know, there is if you really look at it, NARCL is for aggregation, which itself will be value accretive. Then the second portion, which is very important, is the debt resolution company. And debt resolution company will have the benefit of the services of the experts and the specialists, and who would be actually sector specialists. They would be in a position to really ensure that there is a right value assigned to a particular asset. So that is something which will go a long way. The third very important piece is that there should be a market for such kind of brownfield assets. So I think that aspect will also, because you know, post the NCLT, we have seen that there was a definite improvement in the ecosystem for the resolution of the brownfield assets. So I think that will be something which will go a long way, because when it comes to capacity, it is available, it is all aggregated. So this will be the other very important lever for the value driver for these assets. So I think overall, what you mentioned in terms of, you know, improvement in the resolution or the percentage of recovery, it will be function of the asset in particular. There are certain assets which I'm sure will be in a position to fetch much better, and maybe, you know, on an average, we are hopeful that we'll get to see much better recovery.
So, time permitting, I'll come back to both these questions, NARCL and some of the more troubled assets. But I want to get your attention to this home loan competition that's going on between banks. While that is welcome for me as a consumer, can we say that the best of margins is behind you? There is going to be margin pressure on all banks in FY22?
As far as we are concerned in State Bank of India, I can say that it is not going to impact much of our margins.
No, not much, I agree. Not much, I agree. But
no, I would say that
margins cannot increase henceforth. Is that a fair point?
No, not necessarily, because there are reasons. Because we have actually, what we have attempted is that the higher ticket size, where we were charging little higher, now we have made it agnostic to the amount. We have linked it up with the credit scores, and we used to have some premium for some of the ownership in terms of whether it's a professional, etc. So that also we have removed. We have only said that it is the credit score which matters. And the other very important aspect is that post-pandemic, people are looking for much higher loans, because they're looking for the bigger accommodations. So that is something which we were observing, that, you know, we were unnecessarily constraining people to go for the higher value loan, and also looking for the bigger accommodation. So that will be facilitated.
Okay. So
now, as far as the competition is concerned, as far as various competitors quoting different rates, I think it's a function of interest rate plus the delivery on the ground and also the reach. So these are the three very important factors which will be eventually enabling people to really grab the market. So I think we already have got a home loan market which is more like 5,10,000 crore. And we are quite hopeful. We have seen good traction in the month of August also, in terms of the leads which we have got and the business which we have sourced. So we could see that these are the early signs of the uptick which might come in during the festive season. That is the reason why we have rationalized our interest rates, and we feel that it will actually help us in improving our NIM also.
Okay, so there's another factor about public sector banks which is attracting big investors, and I guess you know who I'm talking about. the quality that they are, I mean, the factor they're looking at is that after a cutoff point, which I don't remember the year, people are joining you on defined benefit formula, not on defined contribution, which means your pension payments will have to peak off at some point in time. Is that a correct interpretation? And when do your pension payments peak off, and when the NPS guys will be more than the old pension guys?
Yeah, it actually started in the year 2008 when the new joinees who came in from 2008 onwards, they're on the NPS system. So naturally they have, as of now, they have put in about 12-13 years of service only. So I think it will go on for at least another minimum another 10 to 15 years, at least 10 years, when we will have a situation where we will not have any pension liabilities for the defined benefit plan. And so that is how the situation stands.
Okay, we have many more questions, but I'm just going to try and put forward the most important one for me, which is growing competition from fintech players. Earlier, I think a couple of years back, you had about 20% market share in the payment space, in the fintech space. Now, of course, there are a lot more players emerging there. How are you sort of combating this competition?
I think facing the competition is a reality, and we have been doing it for many years in the past, and we will continue to do that. And fintech, and in fact, for us, technology is something which we have grown with. So I think we don't expect much of a dislocation on account of the fintech really emerging at a faster pace. I would say that we believe in collaborating with fintech, and we have done it in the past. We will do it in future also. And both fintech and the banks will survive and will thrive.
Mr. Khara, my last question to you is that the Indian capital market is seeing a new kind of banking. Banks and bankers getting aggressive. I'm talking about what's happening with respect to Dish TV, where Yes Bank has taken a position. Of course, now they're shareholders, no longer just creditors, lenders. And there are reports, if you could tell us if this is happening or not, that perhaps you could, open the box again on Videocon. Because we know the kind of press that happened. Claims were some 61,000 crores. Bankers received a paltry 3,000 crores. So is there a move afoot to look at fresh bids for Videocon?
I would like to reserve my observations because this is something which is subject matter of debate and discussion in the COC. So I would not be in a position to share anything more than that as of now.
Okay. All right, sir. Credit growth guidance, would you want to give us anything new number? I think you said double digit when we last met.
Yeah, but in fact, as far as our retail engine is concerned, it is still going very well.
No, overall?
Overall, we have got a challenge from the large corporate credit. Large corporate credit is not really growing much. SMEs have also started growing, and also the mid corporates have also started growing. But when it comes to the large corporate credit, of course, we have got a challenge, and also the fresh capacity, which will be the function for the term loan growth, that has yet to really take off as far as the investment is concerned from the private sector. In some pockets, it has started happening, but I would say it is not universal. So I think that will take some time. So because overall, if we look at and also our international book is actually growing very well. So the major challenge as of now is only in the corporate credit as far as the growth is concerned. The rest of the engines have started coming back and kicking off well.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it at that, sir. Plenty of questions. I think we can keep you for an hour, but I guess you have other errands. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Mr. Khara.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. All the very best. Bye-bye.
We have to take a quick break and we'll have another banking behemoth actually. Leo Puri, the chairman of South and Southeast Asia at JP Morgan, joins in. He's a doyen of the Indian banking sector.